Good evening, folks, and welcome to Tonight's Discussion. This is episode 477 already. And tonight we're going to be talking about legally defensible, but more specifically in multi-opponent situation. And we're going to be, we have two guests tonight. One is, you've seen him before, episode 355. We shouldn't have to say any more. Rene, aka Growling Dog. And actually, folks, there he is. And we have Brent Pierce, who's new but substantial and significant law enforcement career. And we're going to begin his lens. Also, Renee's going to be sharing a story, and we'll allow him to share what he wants on that, what he's comfortable with, but something that recently happened to him that kind of, gave me the incentive for the show. And then we're going to get Brent's lens on the legality from him being, serving as a law enforcement police officer, etc. We're going to get some stories from him and what he's witnessed and what he's also some advice for him, what to say and what not to say in there. So if you have questions, put them on the right-hand side. If you're watching, please tell you you're watching from and smash that like button. Without further ado, here we go. Hey guys, how are you doing?
Hey, what's happening?
All right. So you guys kind of heard the intro. So, I figured just for the folks watching, we've kind of just defined legally defensible. And I just simply went to the dictionary. And the ability to, easy enough, the ability to withstand legal challenge regarding the use of force upon examination. And that's what I got. So, folks, if you're watching, that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. But again, within specific context of multiple men, okay? Not just you got bum rushed by somebody, but really be looking at the lens of multiple opponents. So, Renee, I'm going to kick it off with you. Whatever you're comfortable sharing with, I mean, with your incident that happened in Canada there, but again, whatever you're comfortable disclosing.
I'm pretty much cool with everything. This is it's not the first time I've been unfortunate enough to be in this kind of situation, but it's definitely the one that caught me off guard the most. At almost 53, the last thing I needed or I thought would happen is that I would get I'll get attacked by multiple people. Like when I was in my 20s, that was something that was a bit more. Especially when I was bouncing, I thought this was something that would happen on a more regular basis. But the long and short of it is, I was selling. Sorry, guys, I'm battling a lung infection. So
No worries, we'll make it work.
I was selling a vehicle, and the person seemed to be very. He really wanted to buy my truck, my old truck. And he was just like, every day it was like, please, please, please come to my, this is where I live. I'm very close to you. And I really need this vehicle, yada, yada, yada. And
you just had to have it.
Just had to have it, man. And it made it one of those things where it's like, I live in a pretty, I left the big city. I live outside. So I live in an area where a lot of that stuff. Let me rephrase this. I can tell that people that live where I live never lived in a bad neighborhood, because when it comes for recycling day, they never cut their boxes up from the big screen TVs that you just bought, right? And where I used to live, you break everything down and you hide everything that you bought because you never know. So just to paint the picture. But long story short, the guy ended up convincing me to go to his place and have him see my truck, and the entire day, everybody who knows the story, I just had this weird feeling in the back of my head. But it's like, this is the 18-year-old paranoid Rene that's kicking in. So just be chill about it. So not trusting my gut, I decided to go out, and even when I pulled up to the place, I ended up just something wasn't right, and I ended up driving past. I remember taking a picture of the vehicle that they were in, and picture of the driver because he was sitting outside. And as I pulled my truck in, um, as I opened my door, that's kind of where things get fuzzy. All I remember is being slammed up against my truck and then people just going to town on me. And like they were like, and it was, I had this like weird moment. It was like the first in my life where it's like, hey, I think you're, I think something's really wrong here. And it's like,
I think I'm getting hit. I'm not sure.
you're being robbed. And again, it's something that was so completely away from what I thought would happen that it took me a few seconds to kick into, how I am and who I am. And uh, luckily enough, um, my actions were hard enough to make people stop, and me being able to get back into my vehicle and like drive over sidewalks and everything else and drive away.
I know it's hard, but during that time when you opened up your door and boom, like I probably seemed like an eternity. But like, do you have like an estimate, like how long went on before you got back in your trunk?
I think from start to stop, it had to be under a minute. And
So
I'm
it was
just saying
about
that just from what you know, like definitely when you get into weird situations like that, and again, and it's not the first time I've been in a multiple opponent situation, but I have to estimate just from start to finish and the damage that was done in between, it had to be around a minute.
so you opened the door, they're on top of you, six. Obviously,
Yeah,
I mean,
I had one guy who was like he had to be pinned by the neck, and they were like teeing off of my face. I had one guy working my body. People ripping at my pockets, and it was just it was like psychotic. It was crazy, and it just like it's like a caged animal that knows that it's caged, and then once the animal realizes it, and they snap. And I think that's when. And again, I can't go into a lot of the details because there's some legal stuff that's happening right now.
sure.
Um, but once I realized what was actually happening, and because I thought I was going to die or I was going to get taken out, where I was like, like fuck this,
Mhm.
and I just, I just decided to open up.
So
Let me rephrase that. I didn't decide to open up. I just opened up. I think
you just
it was
opened
one of
up. I
those.
mean, no,
It's
you
not.
said it.
It's not
Yeah.
that I sat there and was like, well, I think I'm going to use, a bonk sound, a lop sound. I think I might get out of the situation.
No, you
It was
just,
like, I was
yeah.
like, fuck this, man. Like, if I'm going to go out, I'm taking some people with me.
Yeah, it's not,
And
and you kind of, thank God you got, six peoples. I mean, so you were able to do what you got to do to get back into your vehicle and get the hell out of there, right?
yeah, and that's the weird thing too for me is like, it's not that I sat there and I was like, oh, there's an open window. And I was like, I remember just getting back into my vehicle. And here's the crazy part. I'm going to some kid's birthday party
And
afterwards.
you're
Right?
telling me, hi, I'm here.
And then, like, I'm on the phone with the cops as I'm driving. I'm covered in blood, and I show up to this kid's birthday party because in my head, it was like, this is where I had to go, And like, I show up, my wife looks at me
Where did
like,
this
what
come
are you
from?
doing here?
Renee, you said what the gist of today is that you felt like you were going to die,
Yeah.
which that gave you carte blanche to do whatever you need to do.
I,
So hopefully, if the recourse on the legal end of it is next to nil for you.
You would seem like it, right? You would
yeah,
think.
you know what? And it's just like we touched on this yesterday a little bit. The
Yeah.
reality is like, and again, I don't hold law enforcement against what they have to do. I hold the people that make the laws. But the reality is this, like, when you decide to defend yourself and you decide to go what route you want to go, um, like you are going to be responsible for that. Like it's and it does and it's never good for you. It really isn't. But I also had to make that choice. Like, what's more important? And
Absolutely.
and when it comes to and again, going into traumatic experiences and everything else, I found it really strange afterwards that I decided to go to a kid's birthday party because my headspace was I had to get free and I had to be safe. And it wasn't until I actually showed up there where I had to be reminded what actually happened. You know,
It's
it was
crazy. And you'll have tinges of memory loss in there when they start grilling you over it, of things that just happened. You won't remember that they actually happened.
absolutely.
That's being in deadly force.
And I think,
can
and it comes down to like any combative sport that you do. Like, I boxed for decades and I did this and the other. And sometimes I watch videos of my old boxing like matches and whatnot. And I was like, I actually did that? Like, you know what I mean? Like there's such a disconnect from what reality and what actually happened. And I think
See,
it's like once you,
I had that fighting too, Rene, but it was because I got knocked out, but my eyes were still open.
yeah,
So I wouldn't say. But
I think once you actually feel safe is when it is what it is, right? Like and that's the weird thing for me is like there are accounts of what happened during that situation, which I wasn't quite aware of or remembered until it was like, it's like, hey man, like this is what actually happened. Like, in my head, I was like, I just scuffled a little bit and I got out. And then when they
yeah,
tell me what actually happened, it's like, holy shit, like I don't remember any of that. Like
brother, I was involved in a critical incident, and I was sitting in the room waiting on my lawyer to come in there, and a brother of mine passed away last year, Doug Wright, God bless his soul. He walked in the room. This was a shooting, but he walked in the room and he said, "What the fuck happened to your patrol car?" I guess I had rammed the guy. I didn't remember that until he said that, and I'm like, wow, I forgot about that part. That's a pretty major thing, but I forgot.
Yeah, man. I totally understand what you're saying.
So
And
Rene,
again, like I said, this is not the first time something that this has happened, but it has been a long time. Like I was a bouncer for decades and I did a lot of stupid things. Um, but this is like one of those like literally like I'm selling my fucking car. You know what I mean? Like I'm selling my truck. Like this is the last thing I expected to happen. Like and out of all the things I've lived through, uh it kind of blew my mind. And when I got later on when I went home, because I was, like my wife's like, you shouldn't be at a kid's birthday party covered in blood. Um, that's when it actually hit me. It was like, holy shit, like, like people actually just tried to kill me. Because
wow.
when six people attack you and they start like laying you out, they're not there to ask you questions, right? Like they're not there's no communication involved. Like these people want to take you out. And then, like, everything kind of like really starts hitting home. It's like, man, I would have lost my life and I would never see my kids grow up and yada, yada, yada. And just like, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. And, I spoke to Dean about this before. It's like, it blows my mind. It blows my mind that this would happen to me in a suburb where everybody's supposed to be pretty cool.
Who made you aware though? Like you were saying that, so I'm assuming it was the police. So when did you actually call the police? So I know you went to the party. Did you call the police on the way to the party or
Oh,
while
yeah.
you were?
Oh, yeah. Because, here's the other reality. When you defend yourself and things get violent,
Mm.
there's always a camera around nowadays. This is not the 80s, it's not the 90s. Like when things go sideways. And literally as I remember like driving over the sidewalk, and before I got on the freeway, I picked up my phone and I said, "Hey, A, B, and C, this is what just happened." And I'm still talking to them like in almost like a disbelief kind of scenario, right? It's like, and I'm not a tough guy or anything else. I'm just like, hey man, this is what happened. I got jumped. This is what I did, and I'm pretty sure you're gonna hear about it. I want you to hear my side of the story.
And they
And
caught them, right?
and I remember like just like hanging up, saying, "Man, I might get arrested." Like this because a lot of the stuff that happened was excessive force and whatnot, right? I just like it's like a few years back, and I mentioned the story before when I caught that guy sexually assaulting somebody. and I dropped them, the first thing I thought was like, I'm getting arrested and I'm going to lose my firearms license and I'm going to lose this, I'm going to do that. It was like, I never think of myself in the right. I always think of myself, I'm screwed. And unfortunately, again, I don't blame the LEOs. I blame the laws the way they're set up, because they're set up to protect people who shouldn't be protected.
But Rene, there's ways around it. And I know Canada is a little bit different than the United States.
Yes.
But it goes back to what we talked about yesterday. First off, always be right. You know, you and I talked about, you're 53, I'm 59. The only way you're getting me in a fight now is if it's a deadly force situation.
Yeah.
So since I'm going to be in that situation, I'm going to do it right. And I'm also going to articulate afterwards the right things that I did. If I've done it correctly, and I've done it legally and morally right, I don't have anything to worry about.
Yeah.
But I've got to have that come out of my mouth, the right things. So it's imperative when things like that happen, because you're jacked up. It's like I said, I've arrested people that did 100% the right moral and legal thing, but when I'm there on the scene, they're saying the wrong things. And a lot of it is fear, bravado, confusion. But you got to get that under control. You have to train that just like you do a skill set in the martial arts. You need to know what you need to say.
So
what
Brent,
what I tend to do and what I have done is I say the facts, and after that, I leave it alone. Like any other emotional response I have is irrelevant. And so,
Absolutely.
like, if and when I've been in situations like this, like I said, it's not my first one. And again, I'm not saying that because I want to be the tough guy. It's just I have some karma, I guess, I got to pay off. But I tell the facts. This is what happened. This is how I reacted, and this is how it ended. And after that, I don't say anything else. Like from there on in, whatever has to happen, whether it's the legal system or anything else. But when you start, it's like, hey man, those fucking guys deserved it, and fuck him, I wish I would have killed them. Like that, just all it does is just like, it's like you can literally feel the shovels of dirt hitting you as you're saying that, because you're gonna get, it's gonna bury you. And like I may have mentioned yesterday, there's a reason why I don't post videos of me doing stabby drills on people. It's because I don't want to be perceived as that person.
Right. And that goes back to it. Just means you're going to be good at what you do. If you're right, it doesn't matter if you post those videos, Rene. It's like I said, if you take a guy that's a competitive shooter and he gets into a shooting, the judge and jury, and some people may have that in the back of their mind. I'll talk about the difference between a judge and a jury in a minute. But just because the guy is awesome at what he does, you go back to what did he do? Was it legal and was it moral? Whether he's a great shot or a crappy shot, did he do the right thing? If you're going to use deadly force, you have to be right. If you're right, then you can do what you said, Rene. Stick to the facts. Don't let emotion come into play. Tell the truth, and you're good to go.
Well, the truth is always easier to remember than a lie. Like in the way I look at it when it comes to any of these things, I definitely, even when I was bouncing and shit went sideways, I always made sure I told the truth, and that's what was the end of it. Unfortunately, and I have to say this, I'm worried about the way things are here in Canada as far as legal situations go when protecting yourself. When our chief of police right now is telling people that, hey, keep your car keys at the front of your house so when people break in, they don't have a confrontation with you.
Yeah, he's an idiot.
that to me, that is a sign of where we're heading here, right? And it's terrifying.
Insane.
But at the same token, like when you're dealing with situations like this that happen, again, just stick to what happened. Don't have any emotion about it, and wherever it travels to, then I think that's when the legal system kicks in.
Hey Brent, give us some examples. What you were saying, far as like, because some will argue, like, okay, I fear for my life and just keep it like that. Like one of my teachers said to me, he tells us like, hey, say you fear for your life, you tell officer you're not feeling well, you just want to sit down in there. But from your experience, what is it better not to say anything or keep it very little, or there's certain definitely things you should not be saying?
This is, and again, I'm going to preface this like I did last night. I'm not a lawyer, so you take what I say for what it is. I'm going to tell you what my beliefs are and what I've seen through the years. When you're involved in a deadly force situation, here, the police are going to come. Usually, they're, like I said, they're reactive. You've already dealt with whatever you had to deal with. They're going to come. I have to look at the totality of what just happened. I know I'm right. I'm telling them everything. And again, you do it without emotion. You stick to the facts. This is exactly what happened. This is why it happened. And yes, and you can't play this little game where you pull out a card and go, I was in fear for my life and I was in fear of great bodily injury. You better be telling the truth. Goes back to what Rene just said. Right. But the circumstances will show that. What just happened. I'm not going to know the dudes. I'm not a 25-year-old guy fighting in front of the bar in a parking lot. It's not that situation. If I get into a deadly force situation now, it's because somebody's committing a crime or trying to kill me or hurt me or someone around me. So when that happens, let's say because today we're talking about multiple attackers. Let's say I get into it, whatever the scenario is, and I kill somebody. There's multiple people, 2 or 3 split. So when the cops roll up, I'm going to play the lawyer game. Because every lawyer that's sitting here watching this now is going to say, yeah, Brent Pierce is an idiot. You should shut your freaking mouth and don't talk to cops. What I'm telling you is 3 of those guys just split. I killed one, and I'm not going to say anything. Well, what are they doing right now? Who's the next victim? And you know whose fault that is? It's yours for shutting your mouth. You got it. There's different levels of things that are going to happen. I'm going to tell you, if I was wrong, you'll know it, because when the police roll up, I want my lawyer. That's all they're going to hear from me. But I don't anticipate that ever happening to me, because you live a certain moral way. I let God guide me, and I'm going to do the legal thing. But if you do the right thing, you can talk to the police. They need you to talk. Man, when I roll up on a scene, I'm going to tell you, the people that don't talk used to frustrate me. And I worked at the east side of San Jose for a long time, very gangster-filled area. Norteño, Serena, Crip, Blood, Simone gangs. Gangs shut their mouths. We roll up to a homicide. I'll roll up and there'll be 2 or 3 people on the ground, stabbed or shot. Nobody's saying anything. What am I supposed to do? I got some knucklehead running around shooting and stabbing people, and because no one wants to talk to the police, even the victims. I've had victims look at me and basically say, fuck off. And I'm like, oh, dude, God bless you. Yeah. And it doesn't help me. So even though I'm a victim and I could turn it into a focus of a crime, which I've gone through it. I have a piece hanging on my wall right here that says the grand jury of Santa Clara County cannot indict me for homicide. That's pretty awesome. You know what? That was pure misery. You have 5 people sitting on a grand jury deciding whether they're going to look at you for murder. So, when people in their dojo and when we're training, or you're watching TV and you get this Hollywood picture of I killed this guy, I shot him, I stabbed him, and it's just I'm gonna be a hero. You know what you are? You're a miserable human being for a while, but it's not forever. And that's when you're right.
That's when you're right. Yeah.
What I found in any situation that I've ever been, like when LEOs show up, all they want is an AAR, right? They want an after action report. Right. And I just I make it as simple as possible. Like when I was bouncing or whatever else, and I would just say, person A got involved with person B, and this is what happened, and everything else just doesn't matter. My emotions, why it happened or why it could have happened, is irrelevant. They just want the facts. When there's a car accident and car A hits car B, that's it. They don't want to know that the guy was on his phone or that the guy's having a dispute with his wife or whatever. It's all irrelevant. Like they need the facts. And once you give them the facts, they actually work with you. And then that's where the other stuff kicks in.
From my standpoint, I'll probably offer more than the average layman, because I would be, man, this guy, he was loaded. Based on my training experience, this guy was on PCP, or he was coked out, or he was methed out. I'm going to offer And that's not emotional statements for me. It would be factual statements. So I'll offer as much as I can. Trust me, I have been in off-duty altercations. As a matter of fact, my next-door neighbor here, after I retired and we moved back to North Carolina, I had a Rottweiler, and he was in the backyard. This dog never barked. At 3 a.m, he started barking. So our neighbor was a little bit nuts. So I told my wife, I said, I'm going to take Kimbo was his name, take Kimbo a bone and shut up. Well, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I got shorts and a tank top on. I walk in the backyard. I hear glass break. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go over there and scare JW to death. So I come in, I tell my wife, I said, I'm going to take my gun just in case and scare the shit out of JW. I go over there, I get hit with a floodlight in the front driveway, a circular driveway. There's a car parked there. Their front living room window, there's a dude busted the window out, hanging halfway in, halfway out. JW wasn't home. His wife was there. She's legally blind. In the morning, I'm drawing down on the guy, and I tell him, police department, back out the window. Well, of course, when he stepped out, he's a big old dude. He looked at me, and I'm standing there in tank top and shorts, and his hands go up, and he's not having it. And I said some expletives and told him to get on the ground. He didn't necessarily comply, but he ended up on the ground, and the police come. Okay, but think about how much time has transpired. If I hadn't done anything, what would have happened? My wife was looking out the window, calling 911 at the time, so that Leo's got here. It was a crazy scenario, and again, that could have turned deadly force really, really quick.
What's crazy to me is that so what happened to me is no secret amongst a lot of people that I know, and what really blows my mind is when people find out well, what happened? And I tell them, especially close friends and whatnot, and Dean knows what happened. When I tell them to the extreme that things went to, and they're like, well, that's too much. Did you try maybe talking to them or something like that? And it goes back to this, for me, this is this fantasy martial arts bullshit that's going on nowadays, where it's everybody has this idea of how you're going to defend yourself, and because you've been doing martial arts for as long as you have, that you maybe should be, doing things differently. And I told him, listen, when things get to that degree, there is no communication anymore. The only communication people understand is that if you're trying to end my life, I'm going to try to end yours. And unfortunately, I think we're teaching people in martial arts now that is wrong, or that you should have some sort of, amazing power that you can heal the situation and have this internal dialogue with the other person that they're going to stop. And I think that's the big problem too, is that martial arts have gotten to the point where fantasy and the Hollywood bullshit is helping people. It's making them think that this is the way it's going to go.
Yeah, we're superheroes or something.
Yeah, but the reality is, when it's time to go, it's time to go. There's no, there's no, if someone has a gun on you, or if you have a gun on them, it's not because things went slightly wrong. It's because somebody wants to kill you.
Right, and the guys that are teaching that mystical stuff have probably never been in a real altercation. You've been in fights. I've been in fights, and I'm telling you, none of them go perfect. None of them are cool. None of them are long. They're ugly, nasty, explosive events, and it's not a hoobud drill. Now, having said that, that split second in time from having that hoobud is going to come into play. But the guys that try to make the fight is going to go like a trapping sequence, or all this combo stuff. It's not necessarily that way, man. You need to have concepts, you need to understand ranges, and you need to know when it's time to escalate to the point of deadly force.
And dare I say, what you need to know is reality. And I think that's the problem with training nowadays. And again, I'm just, I unfortunately, and I say that, with all my heart, I grew up around a lot of violence. Before I left Europe and I moved to South America, I lived all over the world. I just saw hardcore and crazy violence. And I think that's what changed the way I look at training, sort of thing. Like when I see people teaching stuff, and it's just like I literally, like you said before, I see people who have never ever been in conflict, but they're teaching conflict resolution, and it bothers my soul. Like it really bugs the shit out of me. And I think that's the biggest problem with the world today is like, I'm very honest with what I've gone through and what I feel that the way I should train. But there's a lot of people out there who, for some reason, they want to be the bad man, but lived in a, like, like I know a lot of kids who grew up in a lot of rich neighborhoods who pretend or want to be the bad guy, and I don't understand why. Because, like, I'll be honest with you, I would trade it all in, not to have lived what I've lived through,
or being exposed to what you're exposed
yeah,
to.
hardcore, man. I and we were talking about this the other day. Like, when I moved to South America, I was there for about a week before I saw a man get shot in the head, and I was the same age as my son, who's 5. Like, I would never want my son now, as a 5-year-old, to see someone get shot. Like, like that's fucking crazy. It's insane.
That's bad.
But there's people out there who want to be the bad guy. Right? They want to be the bad good guy, whatever the fuck it is.
I feel that way about everybody. All my students, all the people I train with. So many of my guys have become cops and stuff. But man, I pray that people don't have to see a tenth of what I've seen in my life. It's horrible, and it's not cool. It's not wonderful. And the older I get, the hopefully wiser I get. Proverbs 4:7. Acquire wisdom. It makes you smarter, man. And it's old age does it. And acquiring wisdom and applying that. But I don't want to fight ever again. But if I do, I'm going to do it well. And I'm going to do it with lethal force if that is what's predicated in the.
Well, dare I say, as I've gotten older, and I've noticed that I've become nastier as I got older because I don't have the same physical strength I used to. I don't have the same, cardio and everything else. So I tend to be a lot nastier now when I fight, and I'm talking about even like dog brothers, like and going back, I'll go back in a second to that. I'll go back to that in a second. But I've noticed that since I've gotten older, I've become nastier, and I want to make sure that I end this quicker than before. And going back to being a dog brother, I think the fact that I train in that adrenal state on for such a long basis is actually helped me deal with situations like this, where it's like I have to figure this out, and I don't have time to like sit there and hope my training kicks in, because that's what I train in, right? And that's what I've been doing.
Hey, Brent. Joel's got to leave. Joel, hopefully you're still and you haven't left yet. He's got a question here, Brent, and I think it's for you. I just want to get this in. Just basically, his question is, what about if the witnesses are the perpetrators? Your experience, does their lies usually fall apart under cross-examination? That's his question.
It does sometimes, but that's a very valid question. We're talking about multiple attackers, and I'll give you a war story here. I was in a 2-man car for a long time in San Jose. We were involved in a shooting. It's the one thing I think I showed you the picture of, guy with a blade, whole scenario. Put on administrative leave for a week, standard protocol. My partner and I come back, our first call of the evening, we go up on the porch, it's still daylight. And a cat jumped off the rail onto the porch. We both drew our guns because we were still kind of jacked up from that last thing. Well, my partner, Ray, he said, brother, I'm going home. I can't function like this. The young idiot that I was, I'm like, brother, I got this. So I rolled solo that night. That night at 2 a.m, riding solo, I'm working in a district called District Lincoln, which is a pretty rough district in San Jose. This apartment above a business, the stairway going up, there's a guy laying on his back, 2 guys on top of him on the bottom of the steps, and 1 guy standing above him, and they're beating the shit out of him. I mean, just hammering him. Hey, I'm a solo unit, man, but you know what? I'm not sitting there. I call for a field unit. I get out of my car. Boom, baton comes out. I go up, yelling at them to stop, yelling at them to stop. They keep hitting the guy. When they see me come up, the two that were beating him turned and grabbed me by the shoulders. My baton dropped down like this, and I'm standing in the doorway. The guy that was above him took off the stairs. This victim stood up on the staircase. All I saw was the heel of that cowboy boot, blew my head up. When my head exploded, these two guys took off. Behind me, out the door, gone. The third guy's already gone that was beating on the victim that is now the suspect. I go to town on him. I'm beating him with my baton. He falls. I fall. I drop my baton. And this is a whole other issue. People talk about hand switching and things like this. The batons that we have, this is the actual baton. They're real slick anyways. So I drop my baton. I go to pick it up. It was a head. I couldn't see. My head's busted. There's blood everywhere. I'm covered in blood. I pick up my baton. I hit him again. Whoop! It comes out. He falls. I fall. I have no depth perception. We're going up the stairs. I get it above the grommet so I can actually hold on to it. 3s and 4s because his legs are right here. Every time he'd stand up, boom, boom. He ends up with a broken leg, which is awesome. But he made it to the top of the steps. I get there. There's an apartment there with a ton of young Hispanic men in it that grab him, pull him in. I back off. Okay. So the only witness to this, the actual what I thought was suspect were, they were suspects at the time, but so is the dude that kicked me in the face. He ended up with a broken leg. I ended up with a busted face. We both went to the same hospital. He went to jail, was released, but he was an illegal. He never stood trial for anything. So now these guys would have backed up any story he had if we went to court. I understand that. But again, what's your reputation as a police officer? You never lie. This is why it's so imperative that cops don't lie. You tell the truth, man. Verbatim what happened. Most juries and judges are going to look at you as a truthful person. Now, again, this is the 80s and 90s, man, so things are a little different now. But that was a situation. Multiple attackers. I could have used deadly force, and I'm gonna be real honest with you. When the two guys grabbed me in the beginning, and I had my baton, I almost dropped my baton and went to draw my gun. But they kind of freaked out because my head was such a mess. They realized this is really, really bad, and I'm screaming for coach refill, and then the fight is gone. Luckily, because man, if they'd have just kept holding me, I was in deep trouble. And if I could have hit him in the head with this, I would have. It's just the way the staircase was, it wasn't happening. So man, I was banging knees. I wasn't hitting him in the thigh. I wasn't trying to hit him in the shin. I was trying to break any bone on his body that I could hit.
Yeah, I can see why. But answering his question, I'm not sure if he's still here. You heard it, but he said he's going to come back and watch it. So if he's still not here, at least he can catch the rerun and get your answer. But let's go back. Rene, when you were talking about that, like the whole thing with martial arts now, and whether it's cosplay or whether they're just teaching what was handed down to them, but it's lacking reality. Particularly, we see this a lot in edge weapon defense and what have you. But the whole thing on ambush, like I find it very interesting because I have people ask me about ambush, through Blade Tech, and I'm very just because it sounds like your scenario was clearly. You open up your door, you get out, and you were ambushed. To me, it's do you weather that first onslaught and where you can click in, because we're not superheroes. Like when I ask me, well, what if somebody jumped down and stabbed you? Well, depending on where they stabbed me, I guess I'm dying that day. We're not superheroes.
I've been stabbed a couple times, so but with knives and a couple of screwdrivers. But the one thing I've learned over the years, and again, unfortunately, when it comes to people teaching, and and you and I've spoken about this before, and you know kind of where I stand. It's like there is this like weird romantic idea of what you're gonna do, It's like, oh, 6 guys attack you, and I'm gonna take this amazing pose, and then I'm gonna do whatever. And through all the things that I've seen in life, is the person who is ready to administer the most violence is the person who will survive that scenario. And I've seen it. I've seen it firsthand. I've seen it. I know someone very well who was working the door with me, and he was walking to his car. Sorry. And like 3 guys that he kicked out of this bar walked up to him. They're like, basically, they were talking and how they're going to beat him up. And he grabbed one guy and he threw him into traffic. And the guy got hit by a car. And that's how the fight started. And he did well. He won. And, I think that's the difference between, understanding survivability and teaching some bullshit that, your instructor tells you. I am so tired of, and I guess I'm martial arts jaded. I'm so tired of watching knife disarms or fight videos, but you have no reference to tell me where that came from. I remember actually Kevin Goat and I were chatting this week, and he was talking about a baseball bat disarm and how it works. And I sent him a video of me in a fight, a Dog Brothers fight, where I used that disarm, and I was like, yeah, you're right. That actually will work. But a lot of people just don't do that. They just say, this is going to work. And then you're teaching some poor bastard that's going to believe you, and then get into an altercation and get killed.
Yeah.
And here's the crazy part. What if you try to stop? Number one in everything is always try to just get the fuck away. There's no need to. At 52, I'm not going to get into a fight with someone who calls me an asshole. I know I'm an asshole, so I'm cool with that. But when I'm with my kids, am I really going to put this? Am I going to start this? And it makes me absolutely insane. Some of the stuff that's being taught out there, and they're doing it for content and views instead of actually saying, I want to teach you to survive. Me as a human being, I want to teach you to survive something that's going to happen. And I'm going to teach you from my experiences or from what my reality is. And they're just doing it for content and money. It's sickening. It really is. It blows my fucking mind.
It's ethics.
And Rene, here's my adage as far as the way I teach. East Side San Jose, very high PCP rate. It was our drug of choice constantly. If your technique is not effective on a 300-pound Samoan, I don't want it. It needs to work on that monster. Yeah. The worst thing that has ever happened in law enforcement is taking away chokes. The number one thing that should be taught in defensive tactics in law enforcement is a rear naked choke. I can put you to sleep with relatively zero injury. You will wake up in handcuffs. I'm not hurt. You're not hurt. Will they die sometimes, which is why things get all skewed? They put the choke on wrong and broke his windpipe. Or there's drugs on board to the point that their carotid don't open back up. Or the cop holds it too long, which we actually had a case of that. And that's out of fear. That's holding it because the guy was kicking your ass. He got it on him, and he's holding it. There's no field unit there yet. By the time the field units get there, we're 2.5, 3 minutes in. He let the guy go, guy's dead. Okay, error. I understand. But that was out of fear, man. And that because he got his ass kicked, but he did manage to get the choke on him. But to take that tool away from law enforcement
is insane. It's fucking crazy. It's crazy.
I didn't have a taser. Never carried a taser. I had OC spray. I never used it except in riot situations, Rodney King and some other situations. I went to my baton all the time. I choked people. It works. It was effective. Most people will tell you when they wake up that they are thankful that I choked them out instead of beating them with my stick. Because I'm going to hit you 3 times in non-lethal areas, and I'm telling you right now, if I haven't stopped this one-on-one fight and I'm by myself, again, talking about deadly force, This guy is loaded to the point that no pain is working. I would break things on some people and it didn't stop them. I'm going to your head. I'm going deadly force. So
Yeah.
you asked the guy, would you rather me have come in here throwing my ones and twos, or would you rather me put you to sleep for a minute? You get to wake up in a nice cozy jail cell.
What I think is amazing about this conversation is like, how is this even a conversation? You know, like
There you go.
if you are being a bastard that decides that he wants to break the law and hurt people, like, why the fuck are we caring about these people's feelings? and you know, again, this is my opinion, but who cares? Like, I don't care. Like, if you're that person, and you know, and things go wrong sometimes, and sometimes the police is wrong, and sometimes they're, you know, things might go sideways and everything else. But the reality is this: if you are doing something that is so wrong that, you know, it warrants for people to go deadly force on you, you fucking deserved it.
Absolutely.
And I'm cool with that. Like, you know, it's like, you know, we had a kid literally, he lives like 10 minutes away from my house. And it was kind of a shitty situation, but 10 guys broke into his house to pistol whip his mom. He grabbed his pistol, shot the guy in the head. Now, he got arrested. He eventually got let go, but I don't see anything wrong with it. Like, you know, there are the laws of existence in man. And I think that we should all have the right to live peacefully. And if someone wants to take that peace away from you, then so be it. But deal with the repercussions of your actions. Just like I've had to deal with the repercussions of my actions as a youth. I've never been arrested or anything else like that. But, you know, I've definitely had my lumps growing up because I did the wrong thing. And I'm so tired of victimizing criminals. It makes no sense to me.
There's no consequences for people's actions anymore. It's just King's X, and it's super scary. And there used to be. I look at the way people treat police officers now. The flipping them off. I'll tell you what. Here's a story of the way it was in the 80s and 90s. I worked for a smaller agency called Pacifica PD. It was on the coast of Northern California. Super cool. Great bunch of guys in the world that I worked with. Just learned so much about law enforcement. And I loved it. Became a supervisor there. But I pulled over two guys on Highway 1, which runs up the coast. They were both on PCP. We didn't have a whole lot of that in Pacifica. I got them arrested, took them down to processing, and we have to read them this thing where we're going to draw blood so we can test you for the drugs you're on. And the guy said no. And I said, okay, I'm going to write refusal down on here. And he looked at me and he said, Officer Pierce, you're not going to choke me out and take it anyways? And I said, no. And he said, man, that's what they do in San Jose. I picked up the phone next day and lateraled to San Jose. It was a process. But I'm like, I'm going to work in San Jose. These guys are doing but if he goes back, hey, don't be driving around on PCP. But in San Jose, at the time that I went there, I'm not real sure what's happening now because it's some bizarre stuff. Man, it was just awesome. You went out and did your job, and you were treated accordingly. You were treated as a good police officer. I haven't, and I hate saying this because people don't believe me when I say it. I worked for one of the biggest agencies in the United States of America, and I never met a racist or dirty cop. And people go, that's not possible. Were there some there probably? Because it was a large agency. Yeah, absolutely. But man, nothing but good dudes that would run in and save anybody.
Well, I think that's the problem too. Is that we are now in a situation where, you know, people will be called racist or whatever just because they're just telling the truth about what their situation is. You know, like if I get jumped by a certain ethnicity, like I'm not making a statement about that ethnicity. I'm just making a statement about the guys that jumped me, and that's what kind of has happened even now. Like, it's hilarious. I'm getting a lot of flack from like people that I know about the situation that I'm in right now, and they're like, "Well, you could have handled it differently, and you could have been nicer, and this could have been like it's just like this weird." You know, Hollywood idea of how you deal with what's going on in front of you. And it's like, guys, like, you weren't there. It's like, well, maybe you should have, again, like, sorry, it just drives me insane. It drives me insane. And it goes back to, there's so much BS training out there, and there's so much, like, people are not taught how to deal with this kind of stuff properly. Yeah, like I always tell my guys, if the second something happens, and if you think that there's a potential of someone seeing it or being filmed, call the cops immediately. Call them, let them know what happened.
Absolutely.
And even if no one saw it, at least you show some remorse, the fact that you actually want to do this, and that you have remorse about what happened. Because, do I like hurting people? God damn it, no, I don't. I don't. I just want to go home. I want to hang out with my kids. I want to hang out with my family and be cool with everything. But
what gets worse though, Rene, is when, like, your situation, one of the things we're going to talk about was in a singular context, obviously just you. But the whole thing too is like having a plan, like, with loved ones. Like, I mean, look at the magnitude and just the chaos and how worse, like if you had your loved ones. Like, you have a plan, I know you, but I tell you, when I get students, I ask, hey, so, by the way, when they come to do a class with me, after there's been some dialogue between us, I say, just I want to run something by you if you don't mind. And they're like, sure. I say, if you're in a parking garage and you got your family and you see a guy approaching you and he's paying particular attention to you when he really shouldn't be, like, do you have a plan with your family? Like, what would you do? And 9 times out of 10, it's like, wow, I don't know. I didn't think of that. And like, we're talking about ambush and we're talking about multiple opponents, and you got your family, man. You better have a freaking plan.
Dean, I guarantee you, and I guarantee you that 90% of the people who are listening to this don't even have a fire drill in their home.
Let alone plan when they're out in the
like, and this is going to sound insane when I say it, but my kids know that if things go sideways, I want them to lie on the ground, as close to the ground as possible, because their rooms are a certain distance from my room and up the stairs and everything else. So if firearms get involved and things start blasting, I'm not shooting at the ground, I'm shooting at mid-level. Like, it's just like, that's the kind of stuff that we drill. Like, and I live in fucking Canada, so, but I am insane when it comes to my family's, my family's survival rate. And if I hit the ground and if I don't move anymore, the people around me, meaning my wife and everything else, know the drill. They know what's happening next, and they know what to do next. They know the combinations and they know everything else. And
those details are so important. And it's, my wife through the years, she has been told a bazillion times, and she has actually had to do it a couple of times. She not only calls 911 when I'm involved in law enforcement, she tells them what I'm wearing, what kind of gun I'm holding, so they don't roll up and shoot me.
Fuck yeah.
But you don't have that conversation with your wife that, hey, honey, when you call 911 because I'm, cutting this guy or shooting this guy or beating this guy, you need to tell them I'm the good guy, what I'm wearing, so that they understand. And it's so important. And police officers.
So check this out. Like a few years back, I was teaching a seminar in New York, and my wife calls me and says, Rene, there's like 4 black Suburbans outside the house. And I was like, what do they look like? And she describes them like, take the kids and go to the basement. And she ends up going to the basement. And my neighbor at the time, the ETF, which is like a SWAT team, like ended up crashing into their house. And it was like 4 Suburbans, all decked out, all blacked out. And like she was smart. Like, she saw it and she's like, this something ain't right here. Let me call Rene up. And I know some of these cats. And the guy next to me was like a giant drug dealer, which I didn't know about. But I said, go to the basement. It's 4 concrete walls. We live in a townhome, so if someone shoots a gun, it's going to go through the walls. The 4 concrete will be cool. And I said, stay down there until you don't hear any more noise. And sure enough, they were down there for a few hours, came up, and they were safe, right? It's just like it's all about never just never mind just your training. It's just like your common sense. Like
Just have a plan. Yeah. Like have the
you need
discussion
to
with
have
your
a plan with your family, and if you don't, then you're failing them. Just as a martial artist, like like if you think you're going to engage 3 or 4 people and have this amazing like win, you're wrong. You're fucking wrong. It's not going to happen.
We're living proof, Rene. You're going to get your ass handed to you. I don't care how good you are. You know.
And I've been on the other side of that where I thought I was really good, and I ended up getting like the hell kicked out of me. And the one thing is as well, like is like your training has to really like kick that in. Like you gotta have someone who's gonna tell you the truth. And like I tell my guys the truth. Like, man, your boxing is shit, and you need to go and train boxing or whatever. Or like I went to your house and like it just doesn't seem tight enough for me. Like I'm just a security freak, and I am also like I am obsessed with keeping my family safe. Like just absolutely obsessed.
Well, you should be.
But I also know what my limitations are. Like I have a lung infection right now. So do I want to get into a scuffle with 3 guys or 2 guys or 1 guy? No, I want to equalize that. And how am I going to do that? It's through the people that I train with and the things that I do. Like I was saying this to Dean the other day, or today actually. The one thing I loved, he posted a video on a group chat where he did it like a 2-second attack, and the absolute beautiful violence that I saw. I was like, that's what I want to execute if I have to. I don't want to get into a 2-minute fight with somebody. I want to get into a 2-second altercation where I take that person out, and then I deal with it afterwards.
Absolutely. And that's what intrigues me about Piper. It's so fast, and that's the way a fight is supposed to be. You're talking about being sick. I just had surgery 2 weeks ago. I feel you. But as I got older, and I have focused so much more on the blade and gun. I haven't left my house since 1985 without a gun and blade. But I still, in my 20s and all, thought, empty hand, I'm the man, I can do this, I can do that. I'm telling you, I live and breathe blade and gun now. My students will tell you that. They know that that's what I believe. Because I'm not going to fight unless it's a deadly force situation. Somebody in one of my seminars recently made the comment, said, you're going to stab a guy over spilling your beer. And I looked down and said, brother, if you're still fighting people for spilling your beer, you got some other issues you need to work on.
You need to change the places that you hang out. Like,
yeah.
Like when I was younger, I used to love hanging out in like really rough places and stuff, just because there's something weird about that I actually enjoyed, and it was like one of those like I'm a storyteller that way. But as I got older, I was like, no, I don't want to hang out in biker bars anymore, or in working after hours bars and this and the other, because I don't want that element around me, because I don't want that translate that energy towards my kids or what it could bring towards my family. And
yeah.
Sorry. I'm just again, when I was younger, I used to love that kind of stuff because I thought it was like so cool. But all those people that I knew are no longer around anymore, and there's a reason for it. And now it's just like, hey, that was a cool story. And I teach my kids the opposite. The last thing you want to do is hanging out with some of these guys.
And even if you are the young buck still going out clubbing, doing all these things and fighting, people don't. I've arrested a lot of guys that weren't bad guys because they got in stupid bar fights. You can ruin your whole life because of your ego and pissing on trees. It's just not worth it. But when you're young, you're not going to listen to the 59-year-old. I hate even saying this, but I've been in the martial arts for roughly half a century. That's nauseating. That I'm that old. But through that time, again, goes back to acquiring your wisdom, man. I look at some of the things that happened when I was younger, and I'm like, damn, that was stupid. Luckily, I didn't get arrested. But then I've had to turn around and arrest guys for doing kind of the same things when they're young, and I'm telling them, listen, man, don't do this. When you get older, you know what I'm saying, but I'm going to try to give it to you now, give you that wisdom now so that you don't have that happen to you. Fighting is one of the dumbest things we do as human beings, and I've devoted my life to it. But you don't want to do it. And
what's weird is that I think that a lot of people reach this weird crucible in their life where they never had to do that, and for some reason they want to prove themselves. And I think it's because of, as humans, as a tribe, we don't test adults anymore to become an adult. So for some reason, they think that this is a cool thing to do. Like one of the scariest ones that I've ever had was one that I had nothing to do with. I was actually just like, I used to train with this guy in Toronto, and he was a good friend of Guru Dan's, and there's another gentleman, I'll call him gentleman now, who made some comments about, my instructor who I was training with, and I was one of his guys, how we were teaching white supremacists how to fight and yada, yada, yada. Unbeknownst to the guy who's made this comment, I was working at a punk rock festival sort of thing that was very anti-racist. But all of a sudden they heard that I was training with a white supremacist. And I walked into a room with 6 guys holding baseball bats. It's like, hey, I heard you're a white supremacist. And I had to talk my way out of that. And, sometimes it's other people that get you into that kind of bullshit. It's like, I always say to myself, whenever something happens, no matter who I'm with, I'm always on my own. And sometimes you just have people who are going to get you into shit just because they have a big mouth, because they want to satisfy whatever egos they have, sort of thing.
One of my best brothers in the world, a guy by the name of Greg Thompson, co-founder of Team Rock with me, he made a comment not too long ago. You can control 2 things. You can control what you put in your mouth and what comes out of your mouth. And people forget that, man. You don't need to be mad at people. You don't need to do that, because you will create that fight. People will fight you over the words. I'm not fighting anybody over words, but people will fight you because what you let come out of your mouth was idiotic. And it goes back to the deadly force thing when the cops come. You still can control what comes out of your mouth. You don't have to go, yeah, I knocked him out and I kicked him in the face again because he's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
You can't. You can control what comes out of your pie hole.
Yeah, that's when it comes when it comes to multiple attackers and stuff, that's the main thing. I think the big thing for me is, how do we stop multiple attackers, or how do we get out of that situation? And one thing, and my kids are like crazy young, so I don't have to talk to them about going to clubs and everything else, but there's always going to be a situation where you got bullies and a group of guys or a gang that are going to be somewhere. It's like, how do you deal with that, and how do you avoid it? And number one thing is like contact, like avoid any kind of thing. Like, I remember being at a high-end club where I was doing security, and I had to hide someone inside the valet Parker hut, because a bunch of Russian gangsters wanted to stab this guy because he mouthed off to them. It's like, just shut your mouth, enjoy your night, and if someone calls you whatever the fuck they want to call you,
who cares?
Who cares? Like, who fucking cares? Like, if you walked up to me and says, Rene, you're a fucking idiot, I would say, oh, cool, I guess I am. And just like, that's the end of it. Like, I don't have time for that bullshit anymore. And I think if I can teach my students or my kids to do the same thing, then it's going to avoid a lot of bullshit. Because especially when it comes to like multiple attackers, your chances of getting killed are huge. Are absolutely fucking huge.
Really hurt, right? Over something.
Yeah, it just a kick in the face. Someone jumps in your neck or whatever, you're done. You're fucking dead.
You know what I mean? Real expensive.
You're dead. You're fucking dead, and then it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm on a bit of a rant today.
No, it's good stuff. No. It's
Now,
good stuff.
And I'm also hopped up on what's it called, Costner, which, by the way, is phenomenal.
I'll give you another multiple attacker story. And again, this was a young cop not being smart. I get a fight call, 2 people fighting in the middle of the street. I roll up, there's 2 big Samoan women, probably a combined weight of about 600 pounds, fighting in the middle of the street. So I jump out of my patrol car and tell them to knock it off. They keep fighting. I come up, tell them to knock it off. Now I'm going to have to go hands on. Well, one lady kind of decided she didn't want to get arrested, so she takes off running. Well, there was a house party. The garage door's open, and there's probably 40 Samoan dudes in there. And I always like that. I love Samoan people, man. I mean, they're just the most awesome people in the world, but they're huge and strong and will beat the snot out of you. Anyways, she runs into the garage. In my mind, I'm still in the yard, but I run into that garage after her. They closed the garage door. I will never, and I started, taking one of the biggest ass whoopings I've ever taken. This was with Pacifica PD. I remember an officer by the name of Todd Diudo kicking in the garage door. He's screaming, "Where's the officer? Where's the officer?" They're holding the bottom of it down so that he couldn't lift it up. So all he started doing was kicking it off his hinges so it got sideways so they could go in and drag me out. But again, it goes to avoidance. I should have had more awareness than to run into a garage packed with dudes that could probably beat my ass one-on-one. And because they did, they knew when that garage door closed, it was King's X. I didn't draw, I wasn't even, all I was trying to do was keep from taking too much damage. Cover, and they were just pounding on me. It wasn't a two-sided fight, put it that way. And I got drug out by the other officers that showed up. Thank God for them. But again, it goes back to that avoidance, man. I could have avoided that multiple attacker situation by not putting myself in that garage. You got to pay attention. We make mistakes. The thing that gets me, though, is that you got to always, as good guys, if there's multiple attackers involved, I'm still the good guy. I'm going deadly force. And people argue this all the time. Well, you can't just go killing it because there's more than one person. I can absolutely articulate to you probably 1,000 cases where people have been killed by multiple attackers, unarmed multiple attackers. I am so blade focused and firearm focused now. I live that way. I want to be able to, even though I've had surgery right now, feel comfortable that I can protect myself.
I think that's that's part of it too. Is when you're speaking of yourself as an LEO and being in a situation where you're being attacked by multiple people, you actually have a firearm or you have the right to defend yourself. Right. I think what I tell people now, and what I tell my students now as well, when you get into a fight, whether it's one person, 2 people, 3 people, or whatever, you're going to have to justify what actually happened. And the law, the way it is right now, is going to be against you. So if you decide that you're going to engage in this kind of thing, you have to realize that it's against you. And I've been in enough situations to know that, it's like the romantic idea of Hollywood and everything else doesn't matter. Like, I have to justify the fact that I hit somebody, disabled somebody, or ended someone's being because I felt that need. And I'm going to be, and this could take years. This will destroy your life for a very long fucking time. So that's why I always tell my people, if you decide that this is where you're going to go, it better be justified, and you better realize that your life is going to stop for a very long period of time until you can actually prove it.
It will affect you the rest of your life too if you're going to use deadly force. And here Canada's a little more restrictive, but here in the States it's still not a cakewalk. We got half of our states have a little more than half have stand your ground. Stand your ground basically means you don't have. It's what in the 80s and 90s when that didn't exist as a buzz term. The only people that had stand your ground really were law enforcement. We never have to retreat. If you're coming at me, and people don't understand that, they go, "Why didn't that cop back away?" I don't have to back away a foot. I'll put 2 to the body, 1 to the head if I have to stop whatever's going on. You can do that as a citizen in half the state. Stand your ground. Doesn't have to be in your house. Doesn't have to be in your car. Then you have your castle doctrine states. Those are the ones that you can only do the stand your ground within the confines of your home, and some places allow your vehicle. You can stand your ground. Then you have places like the crazy north that Dean lives in. You guys have you have to retreat if it's
None of
possible.
that. It's threshold. It's threshold. They have to. In other words, somebody can come to my door, and they can say whatever they want, what awful things are going to do to the family, et cetera, this and that. But I can't do anything until they cross the threshold. If I do anything to them when they're at that threshold, I am going to be held criminally liable.
And that's the thing
that is so insane. That is
If I were to put a bullet in their head when they're at the threshold doing whatever, I would be criminally liable. Now, they cross the threshold, different story.
Here's the funny story. So I can have someone break into my house, right? And I get to my pistol and I shoot them twice. And they turn around, and because of my emotional status, I shoot them through the back. It's the last bullet that they count on. So the fact that I shot him in the back means that, he was trying to get away. And I go to jail.
Well, again, that comes back to articulation, Rene. I mean, again, I hate saying it because I'm speaking from the United States. And, I'm in a firefight with somebody. Things happen with the body when I'm shooting you, and they turn and they do this and that, and you're in the heat of the moment. Man, I can articulate. I can articulate shooting you as many times as I feel like, and I'm going to. One of my shootings, I remember sitting in internal affairs and I had my lawyer sitting next to me, and they asked me why I fired the number of rounds that I fired, and I said because my slide locked, and my attorney kicked me under the table. That's not what they were asking. I was supposed to give some fancy answer about I fired this many rounds to stop the threat. Man, the only reason I quit shooting was because my slide on my gun locked, and I had to reload, and then it was done. But you've got to be able to articulate that you were in this firefight. Dude's in your house, man. I started whether he turned or not. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I could go grab my gun. I could grab my blue gun right now and turn my back to you and still shoot you in the face. So you're okay, man. I don't know if he has. You're in my house, man. I don't need to assess whether you have a weapon in my house. I'm assuming you're there to do great bodily harm or kill me. I can use this.
Honestly, and this is one of the reasons part of me used to love living in South America. Is like, if I didn't invite you into my house, and if you're not a friend of mine, and you're there to do harm, that I should just do whatever I want to make sure that you never come in again. And I love that part about living in South America, and I wish that people understood that here. It's just like, if someone is trying to hurt you, then honestly, fuck you. Like, you're in my house. Like, this is my family. I should have the natural law allowed for me to take care of my family. And I'm tired of the thing, and we're going off topic, but I'm tired of hearing these things where people are like, well, they need a place to live too, or like my mom's place got invaded a couple weeks ago and all this stuff, and got squatted. She has squatters in their house, and even though the squatters were removed, there's people out there who called me. It's like, well, you shouldn't be so harsh on those people because they need a place to live too. It's like,
that kills me.
But are you fucking kidding me? Like, so my mom, of 85 years old, has to have her house trashed by a bunch of squatters, but they have rights? Like, no. Are you kidding me? Does that make sense to you? And most of the people will say, yes, they have a right. It's because they never had it happen to it. And I was nice about things.
Yeah, that'll be their parents.
That actually happened to me. It's like, no more. No fucking more. Like, it blows my mind that we have to have a discussion about what self-protection is with,
and it depends. Here in the States, the pendulum it swung so far to the left the only place it can come back to is center or right, and it's going to have to. I mean, I love.
You're right.
My brothers. I sold my school several years ago in Eden, which is where I live, and these people, the people that have it now, are not Team Rock. But one of my senior students, a guy named Robbie Robertson, opened up a new Team Rock school. I got Robbie Robertson. He's a sergeant with the North Carolina State Highway Patrol, head of their defensive tactics. I got Jonathan Davis is in the Highway Patrol. He's another black belt teaching out of that school. John Peters. All three of these dudes are awesome martial artists. John Peters is a SWAT guy. Those combatives up the yin yang. These guys are just amazing human beings, and they're out there pushing units around every day, going by laws, and not even laws, by media and society perceptions of what they do that I never had to do. 80s and 90s, brother, was the greatest time to be a police officer. We went out, hats and bats, did our thing, and I'll tell you, we used to have all of our brass would stand along the wall. We had one briefing room in San Jose, and it's packed. You know, you think about, 10th biggest city in the United States, how many cops we rolled with every night. Well, we'd have our briefing. If I got in a fight the night before, the captain or lieutenant standing on the wall, or your sergeant, would say, Officer Pierce got into an altercation last night. He was punched in the face. Suspect went to the hospital, then to jail. Everybody clapped. After Rodney King, that got shut down. They captains and lieutenants you just stood there. Then nobody. But it made you feel good knowing, because I knew what I do. I never hit a man in my career that didn't deserve to be hit. So it was kind of nice to be acknowledged. Nowadays, you do that, man, you're going to jail for hitting a guy as a police officer now. I don't know how officers are able to do the job.
I think I mentioned this yesterday. Like, I have friends of mine who are staff sergeants who are telling me, like, flat out, hey, man, like, we'll drive by an incident where people are hitting each other, and we just keep driving because it's not worth the people.
A lot of guys I know are pushing units around collecting a paycheck, because to be proactive now, I always say I would not be afraid of getting killed as a cop. I'm afraid of going to prison. Guys don't want to take the chance, man, because this perception of what violence actually is ridiculous. People's mind gets so screwed up from watching TV and the YouTube stuff. I can't believe that people pull someone over and say, I need to see your driver's license, registration, and proof of insurance, and the guy goes, no. And then they ask him for 20 minutes to give me that. With us, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to tell you, then I'm putting my hands on you. Now they don't do that. And what it creates, in my opinion, is way more altercations, physical altercations with the police. Back in the 80s.
What's funny to me is everybody is anti-cop until shit happens. And who do they call?
911.
It was their first phone call.
Yeah. It's like, hey, man, I hate the cops. They they fuck those guys. And then all of a sudden, something happens. Like, call the cops.
It's terrible.
Hey, Dean, you got any questions? Like, we've been like on a rant for like.
No. It's been good. No. I knew. You know what? I knew this was just by doing so many is that this was going to kind of just be a little more open-ended. So
I can't see the questions that are being asked or anything. So
no, we covered kind of the loved ones. I thought that was important. What to say when the police come, we covered that. Kind of covered that. Yeah,
I'm a Piper guy. I'll kill every single one of you guys.
We know the police. We know it's not their fault. It's the laws that are being made. We kind of covered that.
Listen, man, it's funny when I was in Spain, and like all that shit happened with my family, and we were being like a lot of people were blaming the police, and I had this like interview with the local news, and I said, it's not the cops' fault, it's the people who make the laws, and the people who feel bad for the people who create these crimes. And that's just the reality. Like, I have no ill will towards the police officers. They're just doing what they can within the laws that they're told to enforce.
Within the confinements of right.
What's crazy though, if you have a certain group of individuals in this world that are going to hate the police, even if they watch them do something that is righteous. And I'll give this as an example. Because I told Dean yesterday, I don't mind talking about shootings I've been involved in. But I was involved in one shooting, happened after a pursuit. The guy had tried to kill some CHP guys the night before, got into a pursuit with them again the next night. They come off the highway into my district, District Robert in San Jose. Had one of the San Jose PD units pull in front of me, so we're behind the bad guy. He thought he was turning back on. He'd been shooting the whole time too, just to press that. He thought he was turning back onto the highway, but he turned into what was a dead-end bus corporation. Well, I get on the radio because it's my district. I knew the district. I said, "Hey, man, this is there's nowhere for this cat to go. Let's do this." So they pull in. He cops a U-turn when he realizes it's a dead end, and this is where I was telling the story about me hitting a crash in a patrol car and not remembering it. But he came and he head on into the unit that was in front of me doing this. He's got his gun here. I'm coming in behind the unit. They're both turned, at the 180. I come in, I T-bone him. It knocks his car. He backs up into a berm. He can't open the car door. Well, now I'm nose to nose with his car. He's coming over the top, sitting on his door frame, popping rounds at me, and I come out of my car. We trade rounds. I win. There's a whole shitload of people standing behind a chain link fence at this bus separation yard. The very first thing I heard, I actually collapsed on my patrol car after the incident was done from adrenaline dumping. I heard one of the guys standing behind the fence go, "You fucking pigs, you got another notch in your gun." That's what he said. That's the first thing I heard after killing a human being, was "You got you another notch in your gun." And now, granted, I'd already been in crap before, so my perception of things is a little different. I'm happy that he died. I actually got mad that Life Flight was there and picked him up relatively quick. He made it to the hospital alive, and I was angry, and because the shooting I had been in prior to that when the guy lived, and actually got in a shootout a year later with Oakland PD, they killed him that time. But because I didn't do my job, he was able to do it again. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. So I didn't like Life Flight picking this dude up. So I'm angry about that. I got this dude over here pretty much saying what I did was wrong. It was far from wrong. We get to the debriefing at the police department, and I'm sitting there, and that's when my buddy came in. He actually brought me a sandwich, Big Doug, and told me that I crashed my car. And we're sitting there. Another officer that was with me that pulled the trigger too, a guy named Morgan Fay. He's also deceased. The toughest cop I've ever met in my life. I'm just one of the toughest human beings I've ever met. He'd never been in a shooting before. We're sitting across the table. Our police Chaplain Brigham, came in. They'd already come in and told us the dude was alive. And Chaplain Brigham came in and he says, "He just passed." And Morgan, the hardest cop I've ever met in my life, hung his head down and started bawling. He said, "This ain't right. This ain't right." I looked at Chaplain Brigham and I said, "Fuck him," to the chaplain. Then I immediately apologized. And then I asked Chaplain Brigham, "Where do I stand with this?" We had a conversation before, and he's read Romans 13:4. And I actually have it tattooed on my back now. But it's two people in a deadly force situation in different perceptions, or not different perceptions of what happened, but different reactions to what happened. And then I've got a civilian that watches the whole thing. I mean, watched everything. Watches come in, the crashing, the trading round, and blaming me. I didn't magically pick this guy to chase him around San Jose so I could crash into him and shoot him. But that's the perception of certain members of the public. And I can tell you this.
All I have to say is you don't have to justify what you did. You did what had to be done.
Absolutely.
And that's the problem with society right now, is that, and even with myself, with the things that I've gone through recently, is like people are always like, "You could have done things differently," or "This could have been done that." If you have not been there, then shut your fucking mouth. And it's the same thing, like even like, for example, like this thing happened with my mom's house, where people are like, there was a group of lawyers, MMA fighters, that took over my mom's house to get everybody out. They're called Desokupas. And I will promote the fuck out of those guys any day.
Yeah.
And then a friend of mine was like, "Hey man, like those guys are kind of like right wing," and I said to them like, "Where the fuck were you when this
Yeah.
was happening? And if you weren't there, then shut your mouth,
Yeah.
because these people actually helped me." So I'm sorry that you had to go through what you had to go through, and the emotional shit that you have to go through with it, but that's what you had
Yeah.
to do. So I'm with you.
But you know what? As a martial artist, and you know, I'm not saying this flippant or anything, but it makes me a better martial artist. It's made me a better person. It made me better tactically. I'm telling you, the shootings I got in as a police officer, I started doing executive protection after I left law enforcement, retired from law enforcement. I became a contractor, and you know, speaking on the deadly force issues, making a decision to do that is so unreal, and will affect you the rest of your life. But having done it before, when I was in Iraq, we engaged in some incidents where it is what it is. But this one time that I remember that still it freaks me out to this day. We had gone and, how do I say this? Not stole. We appropriated a couple $1 million worth of radio equipment because we were over there planting some intel stuff. But we had to drive through one of the worst areas in Baghdad, and we're coming back, and they've got this flatbed, and it's moving like 5 miles an hour, and we're riding down this road, and it's like Mad Max, fires in the street. Helicopter all the time, anyway. But our rules of engagement were what you call Syrian rules. You shoot whoever you have to. That was pretty awesome. This was the beginning of the war. You have to remember that. I was riding shotgun in the lead car. We're pulling all this equipment. So I'm hanging out the window, and I see this Iraqi dude. He's shooting somebody down the street. He's probably 30, 40 yards from us. We're rolling 5 miles an hour. I got the beat on him. I'm like, shit, he's shooting at somebody else. But I could literally reach out and smack people on the sidewalk. So I'm sitting there with my AK, and I already got it in my mind. I'm gonna drop him if he turns toward me. I don't want to kill this man. At the time, I'm thinking he's a bad guy, so I'm cool with it. As we roll up, as soon as you get right behind him, he turned, and I saw this look on his face, and I'm like, this dude's not a bad guy. This guy is not a bad guy. I mean, he went white, and he took his gun, and I'm like, you know, don't turn towards me, motherfucker. He drops his AK down by his side, and people are screaming, no, 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 to me. Don't shoot him. I didn't shoot the man. Found out later after we did some intel stuff. It was his and his wife's store. He was smoking some Alibaba's thieves that were running down the street that had stolen stuff from him. I thank God to this day that I had been in prior shootings, and I wasn't so butt scared that I just was shooting people. That man's alive today, and I don't have to deal with shooting a man that didn't deserve to be shot because of the things that I'd gone through prior. So it's all good. You know, these things, they're going to haunt you the rest of your life. What you went through with those guys, it's going to haunt you. You even said, man, you sit there and it's like, nobody's going to understand. I'm sitting here kind of alone because this is ugly, scary stuff. But
Yeah, and you don't teach that to people, right? And first and foremost, thank you for your service.
Yeah.
Just a contractor and a
Hey,
cop,
listen, man. Like I look at it this way. I try to teach, and I'm the opposite. I used to be really like open with teaching people and stuff now, and the more I see what I see, the worse I've gotten. Like I really dislike what's happened in the martial arts world. And I try to be cool about things, but it's just so hard for me to like look at the things I see and smile and say, and these are like people who I know, people who are like friends of mine who are posting these videos, and I was like, and I'm like, that's great. It's not like I just like I follow some people just in their videos, not for the videos, but for the comments because how crazy things are.
and you know, take that
We need
YouTube.
to. You really need to figure out who you train with, you know.
Yeah.
And I had this conversation with Dean earlier today. It's like when I first met Dean, I was like, he's a cool guy, you know, like laid back and everything else. What do I think of his skill set at the time? I didn't know. It was like, and he's like, hey man, like, you know, you want to come check out one of my classes? And I was like, all right, let me check out one of your classes. And then when I saw the level of violence that exploded in like 3 seconds, I was like, I got to train with this guy. It was like such a beautiful thing. It just blew my mind. And what I love about, and again, I want to put Dean on the spot, is that I've never seen Dean say how fucking awesome I am or how bad I am and look how good my skill shit is. He just shows you.
Yes.
And those are the people that you want to train with. And going back to, the fact that we're talking about multiple opponents, when people tell you how things are going to go and how badass you're going to be, don't go to those people. Go to the quiet people. The quiet people to me are the most dangerous. Like the real bad boys in life, to me, in my life, have always moved in silence. And I'm going to defer to Dean on this. When I see someone like Dean, who I think, should be doing coding or something, but he's a straight up fucking monster. Like I'm telling you, like when I was in, like, here I am, and this is the funny part. So here I am in Spain, living in a place that is about to get raided any second. I'm sleeping on an air mattress on the floor with a knife in my hand, waiting for people to like crash the door. And I got nothing else to do, so I I tune into one of Dean's classes, and he's doing stuff, and I was like, God damn, that shit is awesome.
Yes.
Those are the motherfuckers. Those are the motherfuckers you want to train with. The people who tell you, like, I'm a badass and this is how you survive. Don't train with those people. Like they're a waste of your fucking time.
That's why I'm doing Piper now, Rene, because I saw Dean, and this is 50 years in the martial arts. I don't see a whole lot of things that really scare me or make me uneasy. I watch Dean and videos of Lloyd doing some of this Piper stuff, and I'm like, that makes me very uncomfortable. It scares me.
Yes, and that's what it is. Like, take me out of this equation. I'm just a fucking civilian with, a big mouth and a lot of stories. But you're someone who's been in the field. I've seen the shit. I've seen what's going to happen to people. And if that makes you uncomfortable, a person with your experience that has been, shot at and everything else, but this guy here on our left makes us nervous. God damn it. You train with that guy.
It reminds me of when I first saw Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I'm like, I was already black belt in multiple martial arts and this and that. And I'm like, man, that's some magic that I have got to learn. When I saw Dean doing Piper, that's the way I felt, man. And I'm head first into it. I'm all about it.
Hardcore. Hardcore. Like, and I mean, I'm not trying to like Dean's a friend of mine and I care for him dearly, but I'm just telling you right off the bat, I will be 100% honest with people. Like if you want to learn from someone who's gonna fuck you up, that's the guy. Like I'm not kidding. He did that. He sent me a video of him doing like an attack in 2 seconds, and I was like, that is so violent. It's beautiful. It was so cool. It was great, and that's the kind of shit. Going back to original conversation.
How big is a check? Wait.
Dean, I haven't sent it to you yet.
No,
I'll tell you right now, like when you are in the middle of nonsense and shit is going sideways and you have to get violent, that's the kind of stuff you want to train in. And that's the stuff. And I haven't even really trained with Dean that much, but I saw what he did, and that to me was like, it was reality. And that's what I enjoy about it, because I'll be the first person to tell you I think your shit is crap. And this is why I think of it. I have nothing to lose. I got a fucking day job. I don't really care.
And I mentioned him earlier, but the other person that makes me feel that way, like Dean does, is Greg Thompson, co-founded Team Rock with me. Greg is probably the best combatives instructor in the world.
Just say acrobatics.
It's crazy. And that's, I look at people like, if you make me nervous when I watch you and I listen to you, man, I want to learn from you. I don't want to learn from a guy that I'm just like, hey, this will be fun. I want to, man, if it scares me, I want it. I want to know how to do that.
Yeah.
Rob Nava, he was my partner in California at my first school. He woke me up to boxing, man. His brother Johnny Nava, one of the greatest boxing trainers in the Bay Area, and Rob Nava, just an incredible martial artist in all realms. Man, the guy, I'm just like, he's just quiet, boom, but his thing, left hook, he'll knock you out, man.
Well, and you know, going back to the things that I do nowadays, the reason I joined the Dog Brothers is because it made me uncomfortable, and I didn't like it. And then when I go to gatherings, I don't look for people who I think I am equal to. I look for the people that I know that could kick my ass. And that's what I do. I go to these things where I know I'm leaving with some lessons learned and some broken bones, because those are the people who are going to teach me the best. And that's what our group is all about. It's not about, you know, surviving. It's about pushing yourself in a situation that you don't want to be in.
You guys are legendary for that. The Dog Brothers are legendary for it. I've respected you guys since the first day I heard of you a million years ago.
You know, and we've had a couple of course corrections. You know, like so I'm one of the people in the the council of, you know, elders sort of thing here in Canada, and a couple of years ago I had a conversation with everybody saying I think nobody's fighting hard enough, and I think everybody kind of sucks. And then I said that because I meant it, and then we started beating the absolute fucking tar out of each other again. And this is what I love, is the fact that, you know, like, we as a group can say to each other, I don't think we're fighting hard enough. And
right.
We can push each other to that level where now we're breaking each other's bones out of, you know, out of love, you know, like we really want to push each other's like limits. And it's a beautiful thing because it keeps it true. Like, the reality is like this. Dog Brothers have been around since the 1980s. There's only like 300 full Dog Brothers in the world.
And it's always been amazing to me. And it's kind of crazy. When I started the Filipino martial arts, 1990, a guy named Phil George, who was a full instructor under Leo Haron, Bahala Na.
Yeah.
He was also a cop. So everything I learned in the beginning was swing as hard as you can. Everything we did was just knock the living shit out of each other. And my wife still tells the story. We would train blade drill. Man, I was a badass Taekwondo Kimbo guy. I had all kinds of crazy disarm. Well, what we would do is we would take our wooden knives at the time, and we would just go at each other, and we would both be screaming, yelling. And she's like, "What are y'all doing?" Because it has to be real. He goes, "That shit doesn't work. Do it." And we would do it. Bahala Na, brother. And man, it just weeded out probably 99% of the stuff that I'd spent my whole life with knife disarms and how I'm going to handle it, just by getting real with a guy that believes.
I think that's you know, going back to my survival rate of my situations in life. The reason I survived was because I boxed. You know, I grappled, and I stick fought with the Dog Brothers, and I'm just, again, I'm just going by my own experience. So, you know, is the fact that I actually did this in real time allowed me to react to situations in real time. There is no, you know, when you're boxing, there's no hiding shit. When you're grappling, there's no hiding shit. And when you're stick fighting with the people that I was stick fighting at the time, there's no hiding stuff. And that's what allowed me to react and do what I had to do to survive. And that's what it comes down to, back to your training. If the people who you're training with just want you to be comfortable or happy that you're doing it, then you're training with the wrong people. You need to have people who are going to push you and tell you this is reality, and this is what reality is going to be like. And if you don't like it, then you shouldn't be training, because that's the reality. Like, I'm really adamant about that. It's just like you cannot pretend to be in a survivable, you know, situation when you're being taught bullshit, and 90% of the people there are just They're just doing it for content, and it bugs the absolute fuck out of me. Sorry, it's another rant, Dean. Sorry.
No.
But it's I'm tired of it. I'm so tired of, like, I always say that we're in the disco version of martial arts these days because everybody wants to see the flashy and everything else.
Media.
But it's not real. It's not fucking real, man. Like, and it bugs me because we're setting people up to get fucking killed or really hurt.
Yes. It's a false sense of security, and it's a waste of time and energy. Now, I say this, I still approach the martial arts in kind of a weird way, even when I teach. I will do some things that are more, some traditional things here and there, and I call that perfection of the art. I mean, maybe staying true to, I'm not 100% true to any art. I'm a gypsy. I train everywhere within that is
Sorry,
effective.
the word gypsy is a little bit hard for me right now. But you know what? Like, as long as you're honest about it, if you say, "Hey, this is just a drill I use to warm up or to keep whatever moving," I'm cool with that.
My students know the difference. Immediate function shit is stuff I'm going to do right now in the parking lot if I have to, and it's going to work. It's no fluff and muff. What I hope is some of these things from perfection of the art, I can one day input into my immediate function. But until my skill is so fast and so clean that it's a flinch response, it's not immediate function. So there is a huge difference. There's the martial art aspect of it that I love with all my heart, but when it comes to me coming home every day, that's my immediate function part. And they can bleed into each other, but I tend to lead more now to immediate function. I am a blade. I'm one of the guys people talk shit about. I will carry a blade all the time because I know, like right now, having this surgery, I'm not doing my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with anybody right now. I'm not throwing punches, but I can cut you, and I guarantee I'll win even though I'm hurt. I live off the blade gun now. So, but anyway,
hey, listen, like, I'm the same way, and I carry 2 fixed blades, and people ask me why I fixed it. It's just because I don't think I have the motor skills to open up a blade in the middle of something when something goes crazy. That's just the way I am. I'm just being 100% honest.
In the throat, but you got to teach them the aftermath of it too. So I say that I'm all about the blade, but there's a lot of responsibility to it. And I'm the same way. I actually carry 3 blades because I carry one that I'll use to cut boxes. The 2 working blades that I have never touched anything. They won't. They stay sharp. So,
yeah, one of my LEO friends actually asked me. He's like, "Why do I carry 2 blades?" And I said, "Because 3 is ridiculous." And, but that's just But he knows me well enough that that's what I believe in. But part of that too is that I am willing to take the responsibility of what I carry and what I'm willing to use. Absolutely. And that's the other part that martial artists don't ever talk about. It's like, hey, you want to carry a knife? Carry a knife. But if you use it and things go sideways, you have to be ready to go to prison or get arrested.
There's no difference between me using my blade or using a gun. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. People's perception is a little weird on that. I think one of the first times I met Dean, I said, if I pull my blade out, we're in deadly force. If I can't put a hand grenade down your pants and pull the pin, then I have no business pulling my blade out. You've got to be able to articulate, again, back to the theme of this whole thing, of why you're using deadly force.
Yeah.
And it can't be some made-up bullshit. I watch these YouTube videos of these traffic altercations, road rage, and guys getting out, pulling their guns up. I'm like, man, these people don't need to have guns. They need to go to jail. And I would be the first cop to take you to jail for stupidity. If my gun or my blade comes out, some bad things are getting ready to happen. And I'm going to be able to articulate that I was in a deadly force situation. But you can't magically know that. You, as an instructor, and a lot of instructors go, I just teach technique. I'm not going down that legal rabbit hole with my students or the moral rabbit hole. Well, you need to, because I'm giving you a skill that could end somebody's life, including yours. If you live, you're still born if you do it wrong. So I am going to teach you. I teach the morality of it. I teach the legality of it. And every state's different, so I tell people, look it up, man. But there are certain full truths everywhere we go. And I want all my guys that have the skill to kill you with their blade or their firearm to understand these things so that they don't ruin their life when it happens.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, and I've said this to the people that I know as well. So I'm losing my voice. When the second that you decide to deploy any kind of weaponry, it's because you feel like your life is in danger. You know, and that either you are worried about ending your life, or you may have to end someone else's. Like that's the reality. Like it's just. In Canada, there are some crazy gun laws that we have here. Like you pull a gun on somebody, like you could be looking at 7 years. Yeah. So you better be sure that when you're pulling that pistol out, that knife out, whatever you decide to do at that point, that it was worth it.
Well, and people
Like for
also,
me, and I go back to my incident. When things went sideways the way they went, and I was being attacked by 6 people, at that point, I didn't think I was in danger. I knew I was in danger. And I'm willing to deal with the repercussions, which are heading my way right now. And that's just the way it is. And I'm cool with that, because I definitely thought my life was in danger.
you did the right thing. That's what I say. If you're going to do anything deadly force related, you better be right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing too, Rene, is what people don't understand. Let's take the legal aspect out of it, even though that's kind of where we were at tonight. But if you use deadly force on someone, and I said this last night, you can never go back, man. You can never be the deadly force virgin again. Yeah, and it's going to haunt you. And I'm not saying it's all negative, but it will bother you the rest of your life. And it's something you just have to learn to deal with. And unfortunately, some people don't. I mean, you look at the number of military guys we have killing themselves every day. Cops eat their guns all the time, or drink themselves to death, or dope. And it's because people don't understand that you're going to change your entire life by using deadly force. It is not fun and games. It is not something to brag about. I watched this gangster mentality. I've seen it my whole career. I see it still, and it's getting worse. These guys are out shooting and killing people. Look at Chicago. Look at New York. Man, there's no value on human life. I'm a Christian. I put value on human life. And I'm going to sit back and avoid taking someone's life.
All the people that I've known that have been in situations like that, who like to brag about the violence that they've been in, end up usually crying in rooms by themselves at night, because they had to live through that or deal with it.
It's a bravado thing, and it's a young man pissing on trees, and they're lost souls searching for something, and they're trying to find it through the end of a gun. And I'm telling you, man, I mean, it's the old adage, there's the only good gangsters or the only gangsters around are in prison or dead eventually. And it's true. But I'm just saying, as a good person, you sit down and ask yourself. Now, I was teaching a self-defense course one time, and I put my blade in there, especially with elderly women. And I get the same response all the time. I could never do that. I could never, because I'm talking cut the carotid, in the throat, but and you see their faces. Like, do you have grandchildren? And 100% of the time they go, yeah. I said, okay, this dude just grabbed your grandchild. He's gonna take them away. You're never gonna see him. He's gonna molest them every day. She said, I will cut his throat. Boom.
There you go.
It's funny. Like there's times where my wife she's heading out with her friends, and I was like, remember, soft tissue, hard targets, and I make a kind of joke about that, and I laugh, and their friends are like, "Is he serious?" And she's like, "Yes." It's like, yeah. I'm more interested in them coming back than I am, and what they had to do, sort of thing.
And they're going to do the right thing. And you know what? That's the thing that's pretty awesome in your articulation aspect of it. My wife can articulate using deadly force faster than I can. My mom, my 82-year-old mother, if she's walking through the parking lot of Harris Teeter, she can go to deadly force in the blink of an eye if she feels threatened. there's no escalation. You know, she doesn't have to go up the ladder. My 82-year-old mom can use deadly force because she feels afraid that she's going to die. And you got to sit down with people. I talk to my mother about these things. My wife, she carries a break. She knows what to do and what not to do. But you got to be right.
I'm laughing because, you know, I just had my mom's 85 and she still lives in Spain. And we had this discussion recently, and I was telling Dean, like, a lot of the people that I know out there are carrying these, like, you know, throwaway ceramic knives that you can buy at your local store. And I made this holster for my mom for this knife. And I told her, I'm like, just, if you have to use it, just grab it and just start hitting. And when you feel that you are safe, then run away.
Yeah.
And so here's my 85-year-old mom.
Who expects from an 85-year-old woman?
With a holstered blade, you know, it's like she's ready to go.
It scared me.
Sorry?
It would scare me.
It was scary. Yeah, it would scare him.
Oh, and I'm totally cool with it. It's like, and she's actually kind of realized how not comfortable, but how important it is for her to be ready and do what she has to do that way, right? Because again, like, I'm over here now. And I'm not going back for another 10 days. And like, my other family's there taking care of her. But she's also ready to go. Like, she's like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not having people, like, you know, scare me anymore. And I thought that was, like, pretty freaking cool that, you know, my 85-year-old mom is ready to rock and roll.
Yeah. It sucks that society and the world has gotten to that point, though, you know?
Well, you know, it doesn't, because the weird thing for me is that this is where my mom came from, you know, like 50 years ago. And now the world's turned back to what it is now. You know, my mom came out of a world war and a civil war where everybody's, you know, my mom went from having servants to eating out of a trash can. And where, like, you know, violence was an everyday thing. And then it stopped. And now all of a sudden, it's back. But she's not afraid of it. She's like, this is what it is. Let's do it. Which is, you know, it's it's a pretty crazy thing to watch, but it's pretty cool at the same time.
Hey guys, unfortunately, I got a call coming in at 10.
That's me, right?
Yeah. Actually,
we can have that now.
Actually, Heil Camel. But yeah, this has been great. I hate to end it.
Good.
Nah, man. But we cover everything. No, I appreciate it. And
we'll talk about this later, Dean. Can't believe it.
Yeah. Actually, I'm gonna see you. Actually, I'm gonna see you both Saturday morning, right? Yeah.
Yes, sir. Hey, listen. Like, well, I know it's not 10 o'clock yet. I have 2 minutes. So, I want to thank all of you out there and some of the people who are watching right now for helping me out and the things that you've done for me. Like, it's I'm normally a keep to myself, you know, quiet person. Well, somewhat quiet. But I want to thank everybody out there who's actually reached out and helped me. I want to thank Dean for his generosity and the things that he's done for me. Like, I have a lot of people that say that they're my friends. And Dean is actually, like, you know, he's somebody, I knew if the line was drawn, I wouldn't have to worry about who's beside me. I know he'd be there. And I just want to take, you know, the 30 seconds and say thank you, like, from the bottom of my heart.
Happy to do.
Like, it's I'm not a emotional individual or anything, but, you know, this guy has gone above and beyond what a friend does. So I want to say thank you.
Absolutely. And I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be fun. We're all going to be there, actually. Brent's going to be there. Yeah, so it's actually going to be.
Do I get a discount on this thing or what?
You do. Yes, you do. Yes. There's all going to be, there's going to be a bunch. Actually, there's going to be quite a few Piper students there. So
Sorry, what's that?
Brian, and the great Brian Canonigo has also been so kind to let us use his Zoom. And actually, I might have to call upon Brian for another favor. My Zoom account is getting, but I'll have
Just
to.
don't forget to record, Dean.
What's that?
Don't forget to record.
I'm telling you, I've done that twice already. I don't. You know what it is? I get so excited about the lesson, it just goes like right out the window, like hit record because I know it's becoming terrible. Yeah, I've already planned on. Oh, for Saturday? Oh my gosh, Brian, that would be absolutely wonderful if you wouldn't mind doing Renee's thing. Oh my gosh, that's gonna make it so easy. I already got the group set up. Well, you've seen it. You're part of it. Yeah.
Yes. But anyways, like honestly, thank you, and thank you for making me part of this conversation as well.
Oh yeah. No, but I really enjoyed it.
I like to rant about nonsensical bullshit.
No. Brent, I hope it was a pleasant first experience coming on FMA
I
discussion.
appreciate you having me on, Dean. It was an honor, and I mean, I don't know if you can tell, but I get a little passionate about this topic.
Yeah.
But and Renee and I, we bounce off each other, man. We
That's
both
what
talk
tonight. We needed that tonight. That's what we needed. So yeah.
Hardcore, man. I really appreciate it.
All right, guys. Well, hey, if I don't talk to you, I will absolutely see you guys. I got the class at 9, and then course Renee's 10:30.
You both.
All right, you guys. Be good.
Thanks, Dean.
Okay, you take care. I'll see you Saturday, Renee. Try not to get in trouble between now and then, though. Please.
Dude, I am like literally locking myself in my house.
Please do that.
I go on walks and I just like try not to make eye contact with people.
That's it. Just walk around in a room or something like that. Don't even leave the house, right? You know?
I even like wear like glasses and just walk like this.
See you Saturday.
Okay, brother. Thank you.
All right, folks. Yes, if you have not signed up for this, all the monies are going to Renee. Yeah, I think I got close to 30 people. So amazing response, and big thank you to everybody who's signed up for it. Yeah. Good thing, yeah, right? FMA discussion, doing good things for good people that need it, right? That's what it's all about. Helping our friends and those are in the time of need, right? It doesn't get much better than that. So, all right, folks, I will see you, I think Monday. The Rhode Island crew, I think, is coming on the show, I believe. And then who's after that? Bear with me. Rhode Island crew. I'm going to bring some Piper students on. I want some of these newer guys to speak on it. Yeah, so I'm going to be grabbing some Piper guys. Brian Canada, I'm supposed to do a theme episode with him. I'm just going to let him choose it. I'll make it easy. So just choose a topic, Ryan, and yeah, we'll do it. All right, folks, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys hopefully next time. If not, Saturday. Not too late to sign up. All right, guys. Bye.